Barbara Reid is an award-winning illustrator and author. She illustrates many of her stories by using plasticine. One of her first stories she illustrated was a story called The Newborn Calf. One that I'm going to read you today is called Backyard Life Cycles. This fits great in with science units, and I plan on using it with my class. Listen to find out what Barbara Reid is all about. Pay close attention to her illustrations and maybe give it a try sometime where you want to illustrate your pictures using Play-Doh or plasticine like Barbara Reid does. Backyard Life Cycles by Barbara Reid. In this book, we'll learn about the monarch butterfly, sunflower, green frog, white oak, and the life cycle diagrams of these. Watch the monarch butterfly grow. The monarch butterfly lays its tiny eggs on the bottom of a milkweed leaf. After 4 days, the egg hatches and out comes a caterpillar. The caterpillar eats milkweed leaves and grows very quickly. Soon its skin gets too tight. The old skin splits open and falls off. In 2 weeks, the caterpillar is about 5 centimeters long. It spins a silk button so it can hang upside down. When the butterfly crawls out of the chrysalis, it dries itself in the warm sun. Then it unfolds its wings and takes flight. The beautiful monarch butterfly flies from flower to flower, sipping nectar through its tube-like tongue. Watch the sunflower grow. The sunflower grows from a little seed. The seed has a hard shell to protect it from the cold winter. The spring rain makes the seed split open. The root pushes into the earth and brings water to the growing stem. The roots and stem grow quickly. In a few days, there are 2 leaves. They turn sunshine into food for the plant. The stem grows straight up. Soon there are more and more leaves. A big flower bud forms on top of the plant. By the end of the summer, the plant is very tall. The bright yellow flower turns to follow the sun across the sky. In fall, the plant dies and droops, heavy with seeds. Birds and squirrels will eat most of the seeds, but some will stay hidden under the ground. Next year, they will grow into more big, beautiful sunflowers. Watch the green frog grow. The green frog lays many eggs together in a mass of jelly. The jelly protects the eggs and keeps them warm under the cold spring water. In a few days, the tiny tadpole hatches. It lives underwater and attaches itself to the plants it finds there. The tadpole grows quickly. It begins to swim around and to eat plants. By the time it is 8 weeks old, the tadpole has sprouted back legs. Now it gulps air from the surface of the water and eats tiny bugs. The tadpole's mouth and eyes get bigger, and its tail shrinks. It still lives underwater, but now front legs are beginning to grow. Soon the small frog is ready to live on land, just like the big green frogs. Let's take a minute to pause here in the story to make some personal connections. As we see this life cycle of a frog, does it remind you of anything? Well, it reminds me of a time when we were at the lake and there were so many little tadpoles in the water and around the reeds in the area. It really made me think of this. Barbara Reid did a great job showing the different details with her plasticine. Let's look at the life cycle of a white oak. Watch the white oak grow. The tiny acorn grows all summer long. It turns brown as it ripens. In autumn, the acorn falls to the ground. It stays buried under leaves and snow all winter. When spring comes, the acorn swells and a white root pushes into the ground. When I'm out for a walk, quite often I'll see little acorns there and I pick them up, and sometimes I even use them for a craft. Soon a shoot grows straight up. It gets food from inside the acorn shell. It gets water from the root in the ground. Next, the tiny oak tree grows leaves. Now it is called a seedling. Under the ground, the seedling's roots spread and grow. When the tree gets bigger, it is called a sapling. The sapling grows taller each year. Its trunk gets thick and woody and brown. The oak tree grows and grows and gets bigger and bigger. When it is 50 years old, it starts to make acorns. The magnificent oak tree may live hundreds of years. The life cycle of a monarch butterfly. The butterfly lays its eggs on a milkweed leaf. A caterpillar hatches from the egg. It spins silk to attach itself to a leaf. It becomes a chrysalis and the butterfly grows inside. The butterfly emerges 2 weeks later and the butterfly flies. Now let's take a look at the life cycle of a sunflower. A seed waits through the winter. In the spring, the seed takes root. The root and stem grow. A bud develops. It blooms into a large yellow sunflower. Sometimes you can find ones that are other colors as well. But in the fall, the sunflower dies and its seeds drop. Remember when we talked about the life cycle of a frog earlier? Well, the green frog lays its eggs in water, and we learned that it has a jelly-like substance around it. In a few days, the tadpole hatches. But a baby tadpole doesn't really look like a frog, does it? It kind of looks like a little fish to me. The tadpole begins to swim and eat plants. It starts to change, and the tadpole's legs develop, and its tail shrinks. The froglet is almost ready to leave the water. The adult green frog lives on land. You can see in the last picture how it has little or no tail at all. The last life cycle that we're going to look at today is the life cycle of the white oak tree. An acorn falls to the ground, and earlier we learned that it's kind of greenish in color. In the spring, the acorn takes root, and a tiny shoot begins to reach upward into the sky. The seedling grows above and below ground. Then it becomes a sapling, which is a small tree, and the sapling grows taller each year. After about 50 years, could you imagine that's such a long time? Then the oak tree actually makes acorns. When they fall to the ground, the cycle starts over. Barbara Reed did an excellent job of creating her oak tree in this illustration. Take a look at it and maybe give it a try yourself sometime. Quite often on the back of a book, you'll find a little blurb. It tells you what the story is going to be about. This one says, watch as a tadpole hatches from an egg, a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, an acorn becomes a mighty oak tree, and a glorious flower grows from a tiny seed. Now, if you have plasticine at home, I would encourage you to make some creations like Barbara Reed has. It can be so much fun. But if you don't have plasticine, it's quite easy to make homemade Play-Doh. It won't turn out quite the same for your creations, but it'll be close. So I've included Mrs. Jackson's homemade Play-Doh. First you need 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of water, 2 teaspoons cream of tartar, a 1/3 cup salt, 1 tablespoon vegetable oil, and some gel food coloring, but any kind would work. Mix all the ingredients together in a medium saucepan except the food coloring. Cook over low to medium heat, stirring. Once it begins to thicken, add the food coloring in. Continue stirring until the mixture is much thicker and begins to gather around the spoon. It will start to pull away from the sides of the pan. Once the dough is not wet, remove and put onto wax paper or a plate to cool. After cooling, knead Play-Doh for a few seconds. I usually let it cool for about 20 minutes. You can store it in an airtight container in the fridge to make it last longer.